Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Board Gaming Doctor. My name is Phil, and I'll be your board game doctor today. So, on the coattails of my top 10 games from 2025, I, as usual, like to revisit the games that I played from the year of 2024, add some additional games to the list, and see where previous games that I've played end up in how much I want to play them as of now. As always, this is a current snapshot of the games that I've played. From the last year. This could always change in the future with additional plays, and things are always subject to change, of course. But I wanted to show what my top 10 games were from last year. The spread of these games, it was pretty strong. Like, I even, with the limited amount of games that I was able to play, I really and thoroughly enjoyed a lot of these, to the point where I owned a good number of these. Let's see, one, two, three, four. Yeah, five out of these. So half of these I had owned. And I will point out, and I made mention of this in the previous video, that the Newsfeared Big Box technically did come out in 2024, but Newsfeared obviously is a game from many years ago, and there was an error in when I was ordering the list. The true number one that was a new game was Black Forest, but because I made a miscalculation, I put Newsfeared, as Newsfeared is one of my favorite games of all time. The expansions, though, that came together with the big box, I guess, was the number one experience from a board game that I had last year. But let's go ahead and talk about the new top 10 from last year. So, starting with number 10, The Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth did crack my top 10. It is new to the list. This is a great experience that I've had playing physically. I really enjoy Seven Wonders Duel. It's, not one of my, say, top 10 or 20 favorite games of all time, but I really do appreciate the dualistic nature of the game, utilizing the mechanisms that are found from Seven Wonders, ported into Seven Wonders Duel, and the overall thematic integration for Duel for Middle Earth was really cool as well. Having the military aspect and the kind of the chase mechanism that you have on the track was really cool, and I think very appropriately done to the game. This has a new expansion that was added with middling reviews from what I've seen so far, so I haven't had the chance to pursue that yet. But I have enjoyed the game. I respect the design for this, and if I do get the chance to play this more, I think I'll continue to enjoy it very much. So that is my number 10, Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth. My number 9 is going to be Flip 7. So Flip 7 came out and was available to play somewhere in the middle of this year for me. And in addition to it being on Board Game Arena, I've had the chance to play this in person and online, and I really do enjoy the fun that this game provides. It's a push your luck game from a that you utilize a deck of cards with, and the fun that I've had with the people that I've played it with in person or in real time on Board Game Arena have been fantastic. This is a very classic looking and classic playing game that is really easy to introduce to other people. I bought a copy to give for my works, Secret Santa, essentially, for a gift exchange. It's really easy to find nowadays, and also easy to give to someone to enjoy a fresh take on a kind of a classic looking and classic feeling type of card game. So that's my number 9, Flip 7. Number 8 is Shackleton Base. So I really liked Shackleton Base. It's a Fabio Lupiano game. I really enjoy his approach to games, and maybe not all of his games are at the top of my lists, but Shackleton Base hit really well because, in addition to the more interactive central board type of experience of building colonies and buildings on the moon, you have a variability of different companies that kind of are modular in nature, that add different ways to approach the game and different avenues of strategy that you can pursue. So I do, in my opinion, I do think that this is Lopiano's strongest design, together with Nestori Mangoni, and it's something that I would really love to pursue a little bit more. I think it hits the right weight and complexity, and the amount of variability that with those modular companies, that adds to a really good experience for a Euro gamer like me. So that's my number 8, Shackleton base. Number 7 is Harmonies. It's down 2 spaces from last year. Still a very fantastic tile drafting and tableau building game. Very similar to Cascadia. I do prefer this over Cascadia because I like how condensed the playtime is. It's easy, relatively easy enough to teach. I've taught this to folks here at work, and it's very approachable, looks great on the table, and it still provides an interesting puzzle to try to solve every time with the different cards that you have as contracts that you're trying to fulfill, as well as the scoring of the tiles that you place onto your board. And so, really classic, classic pick here. It still holds strong for a game among my top 10 from last year, and that's Harmonies. So number 6, there was no change to this one, is Wyrmspan. I really do enjoy Wyrmspan. I think, uh, like logically and for the puzzle factor and the the crunchy decisions that I have to make, I think Wyrmspan is the game that I would prefer to play over like Wingspan and Finspan. I would rather own Wingspan since there's a lot more content, and I would rather thematically have play with bird cards. But if I'm looking for a step above, I think in that space, I think Wyrmspan is my go-to. I really enjoy how you select actions in this game, really having to puzzle out how much of those coins that you need to acquire to be able to do all that you need to do, and the additional tracks and bonuses that are added to this game, and mechanisms too for having to play card or cave cards on top or below, and then those dragon cards on top. Really create a very unique and complex puzzle utilizing a system that I love. So yeah, my number 6, Wyrmspan. Number 5, down one spot, is Arcs. I really do enjoy Arcs. It had a really high first impression for me. I've had the chance to play this in person and a couple more times, and I have not been able to really dive into the expansion content with leaders and lores, as well as the campaign expansion. But I really do enjoy the system of this game. I think it does. I mean, I played a game recently with someone who hadn't played before, and I remember my first game being kind of lost in the system because the mechanisms, to me at least, were on first impression very unique, despite it being based off of trick taking, which is, if you have played trick takers or classic card games before, it could be more intuitive than not. However, I still felt a little unsure, but still had a really good time. And noticing, a couple of games later, having been able to teach this game and play it again, and still and do fairly well. I think there is an element of skill to this game, knowing how to react to certain hands that you have and to the board state as well. Uh, Learning how to be very tactical in this game is very different in terms of approach to the more overall arching strategic Euro style games that I tend to play. So I think this game still rates really highly for me because it kind of fills a space that wasn't there before for me in terms of like more thematic type of an experience, let alone a more space themed game compared to some of the other Euro style games and themes that I'm used to. So Arcs is a game that I wholeheartedly would love to play some more and hope to get an experience with some of the expansion material soon as well. Definitely when this comes out digitally next year, I think I will add this to the list of games that I play every day. So that's Arcs. Next is Civolution. So it is down one spot. Civolution is a really cool game. Stefan Feld's upgrade to Castles of Burgundy in terms of complexity. I love the theme. I love a civilization themed game. The way that you roll dice and assign them to a whole slew of actions kind of reminds me of the worker placement that is done in A Feast for Odin. And I really enjoy how relatively easy it is to mitigate those dice and accomplish what you want to do. But it's really fun, I think, to try to tactfully adapt to those dice rolls, very similar in a similar fashion to the way the hand is dealt out every round in arcs. You kind of have to deal with what the dice have given you, and you can still formulate a plan with those and still try to accomplish what you try to do, or try to accomplish with like the cards that you're given and the cards that are available in the market and the board state that you have developed throughout the prior rounds in this game. I think there's a lot of room for growth and skill that this game provides, just as there is for Castles of Burgundy, which at first glance seems like a very luck driven game with the dice rolls. But I think Civolution has a lot of potential as I continue to explore this game to introduce more skill and appropriate reactivity to the dice and pursuit of where the majority of points are going to be, all tied together in a very unique approach to a civilization game. And so, for those reasons, it still remains in my top 5 from last year at Civolution. But of course, SETI does come into play. I did get the chance to play SETI very early on this year and have played many other rounds of this game throughout, and it's very much a top game for me. It has all the things that I enjoy from games like Ark Nova, Terraforming Mars, Wingspan, even. Uh, I mean, comparisons may vary, but I really enjoy a game that offers a huge deck of cards with variability, and yet you can still, like, I remember one of the last games I played of this, where everyone was taking a completely different route, scanning versus planet exploration versus just focusing on the aliens when they appeared, and the scores were so tight, and so the system is so balanced and very, it's, I think in that regard, is very welcoming to those who are playing it for the first time to be able to score well and still feel competitive throughout the game. But obviously this game has a lot of strategic depth to it, and with more plays, you can become better at this game, like you do games like Terraforming Mars and Ark Nova. And so, one of the best thematically integrated Euro games for me, in my opinion. Very great to look at, and the systems, the mechanisms play very well. Super excited to try out the expansion later. I have that pre-ordered, and so perhaps a video on that will be forthcoming. But my bronze medalist for 2024 is going to be SETI. So Black Forest comes down one spot. This is the top 3 was, a very tough choice for me. I really do enjoy SETI, and I obviously enjoy Rosenberg games. They are my favorite. They're my comfort games that I go to. And not Glass Road, but Black Forest is that game for me from last year. Glass Road is one of my favorite games of all time. It's probably the game that I've played the most that is termed quote unquote heavy in terms of complexity, and Black Forest is the successor to that game, utilizing an interesting action selection mechanism on a shared board, introducing contracts and recipe fulfillment with jobs, as well as the classic resource management with the dials, as well as the variable board or buildings that you can build onto your tableau. So it's pretty much got everything that I enjoy from Glass Road, except for the mind game aspect with the specialist cards that you play. But I've talked about that ad nauseum in my past videos. Black Forest still remains a solid and tried and true experience for me. However, I think if given the choice, I would rather play Rise and Fall over Black Forest. So Rise and Fall is a game that I think did not have as much of a big impact last year or in the months after its release, due to the publisher and some troubles that were behind the scenes regarding the production of this game. But the game itself is something that I just think about more consistently than I think I would with Black Forest. I think Black Forest is a game that I would rather teach a newer group to, whether they're newer to games or newer to Rosenberg's, and we're all, basically on the same skill level. Whereas Rise and Fall is a game that is highly skillful. It's essentially an abstracted civilization game where you have a hand of cards and you're developing out your presence on a shared board of which you build together at the beginning of the game as a part of the game. And you are trying to essentially get as many trophies by placing out all of a certain type of building or unit onto the board first. There is a type of race element to putting those units on the board first, using the terrain to your advantage, or perhaps even blocking off your opponents for gaining certain access to certain types of tiles. And there's a lot of interactivity and mastery behind that. There are it's sometimes more chess-like, where there are certain ways to approach the game at first with certain openings that make sense depending on the board state, and that kind of integrates well with the mid and late game of how it progresses and how you react to that. But you can also spice it up with some different guild cards that offer personal player powers. You have special tiles that you can place onto the board that may alter what you would originally do without those on the board. So there are some more Euro style ways to modulate this game. But at its core, it's a very masterful chess like, abstracted game that offers a theme that I'm interested in, but also with mechanisms that are very unique and interesting to me. And so this is the game that I think about more often, I think, in terms of wanting to play it and wanting to get better at it versus like Black Forest and some of the others. Now, it's not as popular of a game, but there is a mod on Steam that you can play. I think it's still currently in alpha, but there is a digital presence of this game that hopefully lends itself to more replayability on my part, in addition to having this game physically. But yeah, this is the game that I've thought about the most in the last year. And as its title depicts, it has risen for me and not fallen. So that's my number one, is Rise and Fall. So overall, a very strong year of games. I really enjoyed a lot of the games that were made in 2024, still continuing to explore some of them, and unfortunately do own a good percentage, maybe like 70-80% of these games are in my physical collection. And I think that's a testament to how strong this year was. But time will tell, and we will see what things look like in the future. But that's my list. Let me know what you think of it. If there are certain games that you think should have stayed or risen or fallen, and what games are on your personal lists. Thank you for everyone who has engaged thus far in my previous videos, especially the top 10 of 2025. Really appreciate the support and engagement there to those who have done so. And here's to many more videos and gaming in the months and years to come. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you on the next episode of whatever I put out, and hope you schedule an appointment soon. Take care.